Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today I will be talking about Season 2, Episode 24, The Cream of the Jest, starring Claude Rains as Charles Gresham and James Gregory as Wayne Campbell. And overall, this is a solid episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It features some very good acting, and I would say, especially if you are a fan of Claude Rains, as I am, he's one of my favorite classic actors, then this is definitely an episode worth watching. This is not, however, a perfect episode. It does feel a little padded in a few places, and I also thought it was pretty easy to predict the twist in this episode. And the ending's also a little abrupt, but I still think this is an enjoyable episode overall. So we start with our main character, Charles, and he's at a bar and he wants to drink. But it turns out that he can't have one because he has a very high tab at the bar. We learn that he is an actor and he hasn't been getting a lot of parts lately. He also has somewhat of a drinking problem. And he's just not in a good way, basically, right now. But he has some hope because he sees an advertisement that there's going to be a new play by a man named Wayne Campbell, who he knows from the past. So Charles goes to see Wayne. He asks for a part in the play. But it turns out Charles has been unreliable in the past. He's forgotten lines or not showed up at all. So Wayne is very reluctant. He doesn't want to give him a part. He says, no way. And we can really see that Charles is even more troubled when he says he only feels like he's a real person when he's acting, when he's his characters. So this guy definitely doesn't have a lot of self-confidence in himself. And I have to say that I did feel a little bit badly for Charles at this point, even if a lot of his problems are self-inflicted. And that's due to the excellent work in this episode by Claude Rains. So at this point, Charles can't give up because he's desperate. So we get a little bit of history on his and Wayne's past, which was interesting enough. And Charles basically says if he doesn't get the part, or at least get some money, on a consistent basis from Wayne, that he will deliver a secret. It turns out Wayne embezzled some money in the past, and people don't really know about it, as he basically served some time, but he's not in trouble anymore. So at this point, it's basically a blackmailing scheme by Charles, and as you know, on a show like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, this never turns out well. So we go back to the bar where Charles is definitely drunk, and Wayne comes by. Eventually, Charles collapses, so Wayne brings him to his office, says he can spend the night there because it turns out that Charles doesn't have a home either. At this point, Wayne surprisingly apologizes. He says he was too hard on Charles. They're really not all that different. And he tells Charles he can be in the new play, that he'll have a part for him. And right away, I was suspecting that Wayne was up to something else. I didn't think the episode did a great job of hiding that Wayne had some ulterior motives. But it's fine, I guess, if you just go with it. So we go to the next day. And they talk about the parts. Wayne says there's only two parts left. One is a small part. The other one is the role of a blackmailer. And, he's not sure Charles can do it, but Charles tries to convince him. He reads the lines, and he sounds pretty good, I guess. Wayne says, I'd like to give you the part. You've convinced me, but you're going to have to go see, the person that's backing this play because, he's ultimately in charge, the producer. So Charles says he'll go to see this guy. His name is Mr. Roper, I believe, and he's pretty nervous about this. But eventually he gets up the courage to go see this guy, Roper, and he goes right in character acting. Probably would have been a good idea to introduce himself first, tell this guy who he is. But Charles is so convincing in the part that this Mr. Roper pulls out a gun on him, not knowing Charles is an actor, and he basically shoots him. It turns out that Roper really is involved in some business that he probably shouldn't be, but Charles didn't know this. So, basically Roper disposes of him because he thinks Charles really knows something about him. So, kind of a sad twist for our main character, but like I said, pretty predictable that Wayne set him up the whole time. So overall, Cream of the Jest isn't a perfect episode by any means, but it's very well acted, and a lot of the dialogue is well written as well. And I did enjoy this episode, so I'm going to give the Cream of the Jest a 3 out of 5, and I definitely recommend it for fans of Claude Rains, who does an excellent job here. So 3 out of 5 for the Cream of the Jest, and as always, thank you very much for watching.